is National Bourbon Heritage Month.
I was just looking for more bourbon to drink.
Well, there's some right there.
Well, creator and co-host of the Bourbon Life podcast, Mark Rucker, joins us now to tell us all about some history about bourbon. So many people don't know. Let's start with this. Thank you for being here. I got so excited about talking to you. I was about to jump right into a question.
It's bourbon, right? I get it.
Many people don't know the difference between bourbon and whiskey. Can you kind of let us know?
Sure. Well, every bourbon is a whiskey, but not every whiskey is a bourbon. There are certain requirements under the federal law that have to be met in order for a whiskey to be classified as a bourbon. You all have a beautiful horse out front in the lobby that I just noticed that has all the regulations, what requires a whiskey to be a bourbon. So it's really neat. I never realized you had that here. I want to take it home with me now.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
But it's gorgeous. But it has all the laws, all the requirements that makes a whiskey a that was really neat.
Huh. Interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's neat.
Okay. That's funny. But tell me also a little bit about what we can expect from this month. It's a big deal to talk about that, especially in bourbon country.
Yeah, so National Bourbon Heritage Month started back in 2007. Senator from Kentucky, Jim Bunning, introduced a resolution to the Senate. They adopted it and approved it back in 2007. Since then, they've never done it again, but we still continue to celebrate every September as National Bourbon Heritage Month. So, of course, being from Kentucky, we make 95% of the world's bourbon here. So we're always going to celebrate bourbon. And a month-long party is just a perfect excuse, right? So there's a lot of things going on. A couple of weeks ago, they had the Kentucky Bourbon Festival down in Bardstown, which is huge. 33rd year for that event. They had thousands of people that show up, not just from across Kentucky. It used to be more like a county fair, but now it is an international event. So people from all over the world come to this event. It's a great opportunity for people to get exposed to bourbon that maybe don't have a great understanding of it and are developing appreciation for it. So it's a great opportunity for them. This past weekend was also Bourbon and Beyond, the big music festival over in Louisville. So that is obviously more music focused, but they also have an entire stage dedicated to bourbon. So it's education, history, interviews with master distillers and people like that. And then there's other events going on. There's a big bourbon dinner this Friday night at Le Bon Vie to celebrate Bourbon Heritage Month as well here in Lexington. So just a lot of different things that go on, and it's just an opportunity for us, well, not just us as Kentuckians, but anybody that's a bourbon fan to celebrate bourbon and its history.
And I will say, I've even noticed just learning about the history of bourbon. I've been watching some of your, not podcasts, but you do have a podcast, but you've been on Facebook as well and sharing some of your podcast moments on there. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what you talk about on your podcast?
Yeah, so we started the podcast back in February 2020. The concept was to go to all these distilleries and visit with these master distillers and do the shows. 2 weeks after we started, Governor Beshear shut the whole state down, so we didn't get to go anywhere for COVID, but we kind of pivoted. We figured out a way to do it. So we really have been successful in interviewing a lot of master distillers and a lot of different people that are in the industry. And for me, as a native Kentuckian, it's really just a way for me to share my passion for not just bourbon, but also for my state of Kentucky with people all around the world. Our podcast has been downloaded in over 42 countries in the world.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah, so we're the #2 bourbon podcast in the world right now, which is something I never would have. I'm an attorney. I'm still a full-time attorney. So this is my side passion. But it's really an opportunity for me to share my love of bourbon and my state of Kentucky with people all across the world.
All right, now I'm gonna ask you a very personal question.
Oh, whoa.
I mean, I'm gonna dig deep here. I'm gonna dig really deep. What is your favorite way to have bourbon? I'm not talking about your favorite brand, because I know you don't want to do that. But what is your favorite way to have it? Straight.
I drink it neat.
Neat.
Okay.
Okay.
I just take a little Glencairn, like I have out there in the front, and just pour an ounce and a half in there, and I nose it. And I've learned to savor it and enjoy it. As I get older, I think we all learn to slow down and appreciate things in life, and that's part of the bourbon experience for me as well, and also sharing it with friends. And my theory is, and I quote Fred Noe, who's the master distiller down at Jim Beam, he's said, drink it any darn way you want to. And that's the way Fred feels about it. And that's the way a lot of people in the industry feel about it. If you like bourbon, mix it with ginger ale if you want to, mix it with Sprite, drink it straight, put it on the rocks, mix it with water, whatever you're good with, however you like it. People put water in it. I know.
What?
I'm not a fan of that either.
What?
But you know what? I'm not here.
Why dilute it?
I'm not here to condemn anybody.
Shame on you.
All right, now, we've got some right here in front of us. Let's talk about what we've got here.
Yeah, so the bookends here, this is a product called Little Book, and it's a brand new expression out of that line. What this one is, it is called, I can't remember, the Infinite. So this is a brand new release from Jim Beam Distillery. And that one at the end down there is called Booker's The Reserves. So Booker's is a very popular brand. This is kind of a new line extension as well. So they put these new line extensions out. These just came out about a week and a half ago. So they're very hard to come by, a little more expensive, but definitely worth it. Great blends of different bourbon, delicious stuff. This other one here, Maker's Mark, the classic iconic red wax. I think people see that, even if you don't drink bourbon, you see that red wax, you know it's Maker's Mark, right? Seems like they've been around forever. They started in 1953, so they've been around for 70 years. But that Maker's Mark is their brand new cellar age. That just came out about a week and a half ago as well. I was fortunate enough to be invited to Maker's Mark ahead of the release to get to, I know, kind of a big deal.
Sure.
Okay. Bourbon deal.
You get a phone call from Maker's Mark.
Come on over.
Yeah, but it's great. They put out their first one. That's the oldest Maker's Mark ever released. They've been around for 70 years, so that is the oldest that they've ever released. Last year they put out an expression called the 2023 Cellar Aged. They actually have a cellar, I don't know if you've ever been there, that dug out a hillside, and they actually age barrels in the dugout hillside. So it's like 48 degrees year-round in there. Oh yeah, so they'll age barrels in the warehouse, then they take them out and they put them in there for like an additional 6 to 8 months, maybe 12 months, just to let them mature a little bit more. It has a really unique impact on the bourbon. So that's what that's about. And then the other one is Heaven Hill 18. Heaven Hill is one of my favorite distilleries. They do make one of my favorite products. I'm not going to say which one it is, but that's an 18-year-old Heaven Hill. So that's a lot older than the other ones. It's delicious. That just came out this year. And then the one in the center is actually from Pepper Distillery downtown Lexington here.
Yeah.
That's his brand new barrel proof. They just put it out last year. That is one of my favorite bourbons from last year. Still maintains one of my favorite bourbons. The decanter is beautiful.
Yeah,
he designed it. Amir Pei is the owner. He's a huge history buff. He did all this research, found these old decanters that Pepper used to release, redesigned it, and put that out. That's barrel proof, so I think it's 120 proof. So a little bit hotter than your standard 80 proof or 90 proof bourbon.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But Amir's done a great job with the brand, and that release is phenomenal.
All right, I've got one more question. We've got to wrap, and this is just one quick question. What is the most expensive? How much is the most expensive bourbon you've ever tasted yourself?
I had a 10-year-old, very extra old Fitzgerald down at Bardstown Bourbon Company. They have a vintage whiskey lounge, and they have all these old bottles. They have some bottles from the 1800s in there, believe it or not.
Wow.
So this was a 10-year-old from 1966. The bottle now you can buy it. It's about $4,000 or $5,000 to buy the bottle. So the pour, they gave it to me for free. I didn't have to pay for it, which was great. Yeah, but it probably would have been a $500 or $600 ounce pour.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's my favorite bourbon I've ever had in my life.
Well, I'd say it is.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Yeah. Check out Mark's podcast, and you can find more information there on the website you just saw there on your screen. And we've got more coming up, don't we?
Absolutely. Stay right here. We'll be right back after the break.